Brad Stevens is cooking again. Grant Williams was very injured. And I think we're revving up the engines for Banner 18 once again. All that and next on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, scoop layup off the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Garnett, knocked away. Ball game.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Jake Eisenberg. This is First to the Floor, joined by Mr. Wayne Spooney. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, Jake. Quick programming note. My wife had to take the dog to the emergency vet. Everything I think is fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on here. But there's a small chance I have to run, and then it will be bad news. But otherwise, we're good, dude. I'm feeling, I feel like the sadness. Hey, Dave D in the chat. What's up,
What
dude?
up, team?
The sadness of the season being lost, is I'm kind of over it. I'm getting sort of excited for the offseason again. Big part of that. Thank you, Denver Nuggets. Just thank you. Jamal Murray, my dude. I loved him out of the draft. It's awesome seeing him kill it. So do you feel that? I'm assuming you're like me and you're very happy the Nuggets are on the verge of the title.
I am. It's been a weird series. It's been, the mixed emotions of watching Caleb Martin come back to earth. Max Strus is 5 for 26. That hurts. That hurts a lot. But I don't think the Celtics had a real shot at beating this Denver team. Like, if we're being honest, I think it would have. Who knows though with this Celtics team? That's the thing, and that's why it hurts, because they were that close to getting in there and missed opportunities throughout the playoffs. Come back to haunt me. I had a very for my Twitter feed, a viral tweet yesterday where I was just going back. Yeah. I was looking at, and honestly, thanks to everyone that's been watching. Like, I didn't even have the ability for my tweets to kind of like get that kind of traction before the playoffs. But I was just like, I was literally walking on the beach thinking about the Celtics and the Nuggets, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Tatum and then Jalen always play well against the Nuggets. And I went back and watched the 2 games from the series and from the season, and the Celtics lost the second game. Like, it was a pretty gross game, but Tatum and Jalen are just really comfortable against that type of defense compared to how uncomfortable they are against Miami. And Denver fans, maybe fairly
not happy.
Very, 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 very touchy about teams saying, "Oh, we would have done this and we would have done that." The tweet did not say that the Celtics would have beaten the Nuggets. All I said is I thought that Tatum would have been pretty comfortable against that type of defense. Like Jokic, you go back to Game 7 against the Sixers, that type of drop defense against a defender like Embiid, where and then you're getting Murray and the Jokic pick and roll. I don't think the Celtics defense was anywhere near good enough to be disciplined enough to slow down the Nuggets. That would have been the biggest issue, I think.
They play defense like the Bucks do. Really? Yeah. I mean, like, you can get pull-up threes against them. They'll blitz with Jokic more than the Bucks do and stuff, but Tatum's eaten up blitzes and doubles all season. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think we would have definitely put up a better fight than this Miami team. That feels like a 6 or 7 game series. And I definitely wouldn't have gone in super confident, but I felt like it would be a coin toss series against Denver. We just match up with them better than we do against Miami. I don't know, man. I like how we match up. I really do. We could throw the guards at Jamal Murray.
I agree matchup wise. I think this team just had that idiot gene that they couldn't get rid of.
Yeah.
And so I think similar, there may have been a moment we may have been up 2-1 with 6 minutes to go, similar to last year's finals, but we'll never know.
That's right. Mike Nunez in the chat says, I think we have the better of the Nugs, but we will never know. Unfortunately, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And Jokic, I think, would have just eaten us, taken us apart.
Oh, yeah. We weren't going to stop him, but you can hope, you close out on shooters and make them, we lost that second game because they shot like 60% from 3. So that game looked worse than it actually was, I thought, from a process standpoint. But I'm not saying we'd beat the Nuggets 100%, but it would have been a fun ass series.
Yeah. And look, you go back and like Jalen was like, he averaged 28, 8 and 8 in those 2 games on 66% from the field. Like Tatum was one thing, but you probably got like closer to All NBA version Jalen back against someone like a team like the Nuggets. Um, and like I really enjoyed reading all the Nuggets fans going at me. My favorite one was like, "This is a game from November. Uh, it's not mentally healthy to be acting like this." And I agreed. I was like, "Yeah, man,
Correct, sir.
could not agree more. I have a sickness, and we all do. But that's enough hypotheticals for now. I'm sure we'll dip our toes in and out as we go through the off season because we are sickos and we can't help but imagine what could have been. But Brad Stevens is at it again. We foreshadowed it last episode. There was definitely rumblings of picking up Charles Lee for the coaching staff when we recorded last. But something that I didn't expect was so we've hired Charles Lee, but he's coming in as the lead assistant. I just assumed that Cassell would have been the lead guy because the experience of the 30 years between the playing and the coaching, Charles Lee being the 37-year-old. But upon kind of diving into it, Charles Lee feels like he's right there for a head coaching job, similar to how Udoka was. So like last year, for this year, he was a finalist for Toronto and Detroit jobs, and Detroit goes with the Monty Williams choice. And in classic Toronto form, they go with the guy that no one's heard of, similar to how they went with Nick Nurse. And then last year they went with he was a finalist for the New Orleans job with Willie Green, and with Washington was Wes Unseld Jr., I believe, is the coach for the Wiz. So like a guy that's clearly right on the edge. Another thing that I dove into last year, the Athletic did a 40 under 40 for coaches, executives, and agents. And Charles Lee was on this list among 8 other coaches, which included Mark Dagnall, Taylor Jenkins, Will Hardy, and a couple of guys I hadn't heard of, Eric Corey, Raps assistant, Sergi Oliver, Jazz assistant, and Christy Tolliver, Mavs assistant, and Will Reaver, Rockets assistant. But, the company of Mark Dagnall, Taylor Jenkins, Will Hardy, Charles Lee, clearly this guy has pedigree around the league. And I don't know how much it has to do with potentially Cassell and Charles Lee thinking that there could be a Celtics head coaching job available midway or after the next season. Don't know. But the fact that Udoka's got another job as a Rockets head coach, Will Hardy's got a job as a head coach in Utah, you're coming in with one of the best rosters in the league. Like people, poaching guys from the best teams. As down as people are on the Celtics, free agents, buyout guy, minimum guys, top assistant coaches, candidates. Clearly, the Celtics are still a hot destination, and I think it's just another good pickup for Brad and the boys.
Yeah, look, the NBA is not full of internet trolls like Twitter is, right? Like all the Celtics suck, blah blah. Like no, they don't. Objectively, they might be in the best, maybe. They're at least a top 4 position for the next 5 years of any team in the NBA. So it's a hot job. I understand why people are interested. Reminds me of when Udoka stole Will Hardy from San Antonio and everyone was like, whoa, we thought this guy was next up for a head coaching gig. I can't believe he's leaving Pop to go be an assistant. Little different in that Lee didn't have Budenholzer anymore, but it was that kind of reaction, it seemed like, from people in the know, like, wow, that's a really great hire. So I don't expect Charles Lee to be here this time next year. Yeah. And that's, I think, a compliment to how talented he apparently is, because I know very little about his actual schemes. I guess he was the guy who designed their defense this year and had them getting out, because this was their best 3-point defending year for many, since I think Bud took over, and that was credited to Charles Lee. So I think that's a good sign. Show he's got a defensive mind, which I think Joe needs. I don't think Joe is necessarily a bad defensive coach or anything. I just think he clearly was a bit overwhelmed. I think the more I think about it, was a really tough position to be in if you're Joe Mazzulla, where you're hired kind of ahead of a bunch of guys that definitely felt like they deserved the job. So So far, so good. Brad had a couple huge decisions to make at the beginning of this offseason. I feel like he's 2 for 2 because I love Sam Cassell as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited to hear some of these like reports and like, Forsberg's going to have a sit down with him
Yeah.
and get all like what's your philosophy all about. So I'm really interested in it to see, because I've never even heard this dude talk. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just want
There's
to meet Charles Lee,
There's a good the Bucks do these like similar to how Mark D'Amico and those guys at the Celtics do like little sit down film breakdowns with players or whatever. They did a good one with Charles Lee. They kind of covered a bunch of different stuff, whether it was coaching Giannis or whatever. So if you go on YouTube and just type in like Charles Lee Bucks film room, like there's a good like 11-minute video on him. Something I was reading as well, he was like the offensive coordinator during their, and again, I think you just have to take all of these stories with a little grain of salt
Yeah.
or just dive headfirst and go full green beer drinking, because why not? And
let's do it, dude.
Yeah,
We're
right?
out of the playoffs.
Right, yeah. So he apparently was like the offensive coordinator for the title year for the Bucks. And if you go back and watch, on one hand, they kind of looked like the Bucks of this year in the net series where they couldn't figure out their offense. But then once they got through that, that was the best their offense has looked in the Giannis era. And so that's the Bucks and the Celtics are similar in that way, in that they need to figure out their like crunch time offense and Giannis HB dive through the middle. And I don't know what the Celtics thing is, but that would be like if I was one of those assistants coming in, that would have been like the top of my cover letter application. I don't know how they do applications in the NBA. Do you have a cover letter? Do you have a resume? But like that would have been like, what are you going to, Brad's like, what are you going to bring to the Celtics that way that you think we're missing? Top of the thing would have been if I'm Cassell or Charles Lee, I'll help you fix the crunch time offense. I'm hoping that those two guys have plans to help fix that because that is at the top of my list. I have a question for you though. I saw Jordan B in the chat actually saying, don't know anything about him. So he has basically been Mike Budenholzer's right-hand man for the past like 13 years, was with him for 9 years with the Bucks and 4 years with the Hawks. So a lot of experience from both Cassell and Charles Lee. Charles Lee, I don't believe, made it as a player in the NBA. He played for Bucknell in college, was like player of the year for Bucknell. That's not a school that I am aware of, but now we have.
That's where Mike Muscala went to college, Jake, and where my mother-in-law worked for 25 years or 20 years. So I've got lots of ties to Bucknell. I got married right next to Bucknell.
Where is this located?
It's in central Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Another Northeast guy.
Yep.
So another 6'4" guard. So we've got Charles Lee, 6'4" guard, Sam Cassell, 6'3" guard, and Joe Mazzulla, 5'10" guard.
Yeah, something like that.
If you could get all three of these coaches in their prime and they played 3v3 against the current version of Derek, Malcolm, and Marcus, what do you reckon?
Okay, so I have never seen Charles Lee. I've never heard him speak. I've never seen him play basketball, but I can say that Joe him and Smart might literally kill each other if they went 100% against each other. So I'm going to call that a wash because they would both get injured so quickly. It's going to boil down to a 2-on-2 game with Derek and Brogdon, right? And versus Cassell and Lee. So I actually think Sammy Cassell is the best player out of all these
best
guys.
Player on the court.
Yeah.
It's not actually that close. All NBA, All-Star, 3-time champ.
Yeah. But I can't imagine a guard from Bucknell can give Derek White or Malcolm Brogdon much difficulty. So I got to go with the current Celtics, man. How about you?
I think the current Celtics probably get it done. I think, Charles Lee and Joe, Smart's going to go mismatch hunting with Joe. I think we're going to put Joe in the post and he's going to be in trouble. But I think it's a fun like coaching coaching thing, and there's gonna be a lot of trash talk. I know we've already seen Cassell, those famous videos of Maxi and stuff. So I like that dynamic of these three guards. They're probably talking shit about how the guards are the most important. Tatum and Jalen are like, oh, it's a wings league. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, so that's look. We'll see how that goes. I think like you can't argue with what Brad's doing here. I like weakening the Bucks. I like weakening the Sixers. These are their top assistants. The outpouring of support from both of those fan bases. You love to see that, similar to when Derek White left the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
You always like to see that, but we don't really know how it's going to go. But as people have alluded to over this playoff run, it was a pretty dire situation.
Yeah, definitely. That vibes were very bad after that Game 7 loss. Hey, real quick before I jump into my favorite part of the podcast, the ad read, Mike Nunez asks, do you guys think the Celtics are going to target a big man in free agency or in trades? I ask because Time Lord is one-dimensional and has zero post-game. I actually thought Rob showed a little bit of scoring. A little bit. Yeah. From Game 7 of Philly until the end of the Heat series, I thought he was more aggressive. But the first part of the question, I think absolutely. I actually expect us to dangle Brogdon either for a big wing, like you've suggested, Jake, OG type of guy, or a center. We really, really, really need a center. And I don't know what the MLE can get you, but if you look back on our past MLE signings, like it is not usual. It's a back end of the rotation guy. Like Tristan Thompson got the full MLE, which we can't even give. We can only give the mini one. So, and then obviously Gallo got hurt. He, I think, would have been a great MLE signing, but there's some names out there, man. Like unfortunately, I think Naz Reid is going to get more than the mid-level. But God, he would be so perfect.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
He might be the best big of them all, though.
Yeah. The one big to rule them all.
He's going to get easy the full mid-level. I would imagine potentially even more. They need to do some. It's just hard. Like how much resources do you assign to? It's a different type of third big man role on the Celtics because of Al aging and Time Lord's health concerns. So we'll see. I'm just definitely hesitant to, unless it's someone that can play like is more versatile. Like that's why OG, someone that can play small ball 5, someone that's maybe not just a straight up like JaVale McGee, Willie Cauley-Stein. Like those are the types of guys that are like coming to mind. Because I don't know, are we gonna spend on another MLE, non-taxpayer MLE? Like if we re-sign Grant, like
we can't. We can't.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So Gallo, right? Like how much? Like Joe Ingles was really good coming off the ACL. Like we don't need Gallo to be a game changer. We just need a change of pace guy that can be 6'10", 11, spread the floor, be a 5 out.
Yeah, there's some interesting names: Dwight Powell, Thomas Bryant. We could just bring we might just bring Muscala back for 3. We got a team option for $3.5 million for Moose. Although I would like somebody a little more traditional rim protector type because I just don't know. Like sometimes you just need a guy who can like bang bodies. Even like Drummond had some, decent.
We'd love
minutes.
Drummond.
Yeah,
would go Drummond. Like
he's got a player option at $3.2 million. He's going to decline. So, maybe that's a target.
Yep. Love that. Love that. Yes. There'll be someone out there. I don't know. We'll see how much Brad loves Cornette. Because it was fine. It was just once we got to the playoffs, Joe did not play, obviously, Blake. He was probably had the highest ceiling in a single game of any of the bigs. But like, I don't know if you're really trusting Blake in the playoffs. It is interesting. I think if you're going to invest real resources, it needs to be someone that is like a big 4, like a Harrison Barnes. OG is really the guy. I'll definitely. Oh, Kelly Olynyk. He makes a like. Would you do Brogdon for 15? Would you do Brogdon for Olynyk?
I don't think I would. There's a lot of interesting names on that Utah team though that you could get some really fascinating trades. I don't know why they'd want Brogdon. Is the only concern. Yes. Yeah.
So that's why Toronto makes a little bit of sense. Like Fred VanVleet today, he was always going to decline his option, but he's officially a free agent. Which side note, like whichever team ends up paying Fred VanVleet $30 million is going to be like really disappointed. Right?
Yeah, dude.
Like he was like 39% from the field this year. Like he was awesome when he was a fourth option. Me and Z Gamer were talking about this on Twitter today. Like third option, fourth option in the finals, great. Paying him $30 million, not great.
And he's not a good enough playmaker to be your lead ball handler either. So like, what is his position, right? I guess he works with Smart because Smart can guard twos and then Van Vliet can guard the ones. But like, if you're gonna invest that much money in a guard, they better be able to run your damn offense. And like, he's like fine. He's the best thing he does is pull up threes, and that's a valuable skill, super valuable skill, but not for 30 million. And he's 5'11", man. So no, thank you on FVV. But if you want to place a bet on who the Celtics might sign in the offseason, you should take your talents to FanDuel and make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. And like I said, we were talking about the Celtics championship odds. I have thought about sprinkling a little money on FanDuel. So we got great promotions every day on FanDuel, safe and secure app. You get paid instantly, unlike a lot of the sports books. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700 or visit chaosgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 46369 in New York, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or visit 1800gambler.net in my home state of West Virginia. Jake, what do you got for us?
Look, you're going to have to be quick because the game's about to start, but I would go Jokic 25 plus and Jokic 25 plus points and Jokic 14 plus rebounds to get you to plus 159. The last parlay on the last, I was this close. Jokic over 25, Bam over 20 points, and Jimmy 6 plus assists, and Jimmy only got to 4 assists. Who's just having not the best finals. Side tangent. Jimmy Butler and Tatum's stats from Tatum's finals last year and Jimmy Butler's finals this year, very, very similar.
MJ's son, dude. He's Michael Jordan's son. He's the new Michael Jordan.
He doesn't even care about the Hall of Fame, dude.
No. Oh, that was, dude. That's so stupid. Like, come on, man. That's a slap in the face to
it really is.
All the greats, dude.
Yeah. Like Michael Jordan's up there, like people are crying in the crowd. Like, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Enough. Anyway.
That tangent over.
There'll be bloody Jimmy Butler in the Heat. Yeah. All right. Grant Williams. Where are we with Batman? Grant Williams has had surgery on his left hand. He had the right elbow thing that he was dealing with throughout the season. He's maybe I was about to say the biggest question for the Celtics this offseason. Definitely not. Definitely the second biggest question. Probably.
A question, yeah.
A question. Restricted free agent. John Hollinger does his like top 25 free agent list every year, and Grant came in at 25th out of 25 free agents. Notable players ranked above Grant Williams in this list: Brook Lopez, Dante DiVincenzo, Christian Wood, Harrison Barnes, Dylan Brooks, Bruce Brown, Jeremy Grant, Kobe White, your guy PJ Washington, and Jordan Clarkson. Of that group, I feel like he's maybe above a few of those guys. Like, who would you rather have, Dylan Brooks or Grant Williams?
Grant, 100%.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't
Dylan
think
Brooks
that's
just
close.
shot like 10% from
Yeah.
3 in the playoffs. Yeah.
So guys I would have above him there would be Dylan Brooks, Christian Wood, Kobe White, and Jordan Clarkson. I think Clarkson's fun. I think it's kind of like a empty calories Jordan Poole type guy when you get to the playoffs. But I think Grant is definitely in like the 4th tier of free agents. Yeah, John Hodges, I'd BORD $ stat. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but he's just a guy that made a list. And so I haven't been bothered to make my own personal top 25 free agent list yet. But where are you with Grant? Resign, no resign, sign and trade, yada yada.
Can I just address Christian Wood real quick?
Yes, please.
He does not play winning basketball. How many teams have to get rid of this guy after 2 years, and he's always mad because he's not playing enough, because he doesn't play defense, and he's just basically an empty stats scorer in a position where you cannot afford to have an empty stats scorer. Like, he is not good. I just do not understand why people are still obsessed with this guy. Anyway, okay. I have to get it off my chest.
Because he gets buckets, dude. He's good for the Twitter highlight timeline.
Yeah, like, that's it. That's literally it. It's ridiculous.
If the Pistons and the Rockets and the Mavs are like, no, thank you, all 3 teams that have real talent issues, that's a pretty sizable red flag.
Yeah. Yes, that for damn sure, dude. So anyway, Grant's definitely above him. All right. So Mike Nunez in the chat says Grant's got to go. Z Gamer says, I expect Grant. He thinks that Grant's going to get 4 years, $50 million, and Stevens looks to move him at the deadline, which I think is kind of interesting. I think Grant is an asset, right? He's restricted free agent. We can re-sign him. It just depends on whether he gets any offers and if we want to match those offers. And if he doesn't, what we end up signing him for. So I think you absolutely have to sign him, just at the very least to keep the asset. Because look, he's still young. What is he? 23, 24.
Yeah.
He had an up and down season, but like, go back to what we were talking about around Grant in December. Like, we were like, Grant's here. He's shooting 47% from 3. He looks great. So I actually think I'm more of a believer in Grant than consensus. I was lower on him than other people, I think, last year. And now this year, I don't think a ton changed. He looked a little slower, but I would like to see him get back to that kind of uber switchable power forward role. As Nathaniel Cranshaw says, the Boston Celtics champion window is closed forever. I would disagree. So I think, if that left hand was legitimate and he, that was really bothering him, it would kind of make some sense why he was a little more hesitant to really stick his nose in on defense. I think it's a no-brainer to re-sign him unless he gets some sort of crazy like $20 million a year offer, which I do not anticipate.
Yeah, that would be the only reason I could think of for not re-signing Grant. Like, if someone does come in and offer Grant 4 years for $80 million, then you probably have to walk away.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the CBA thing's just got everybody's brain in a pretzel, but like, those issues aren't going to kind of come in for a couple years. Like, Jalen's Supermax extension doesn't start for 2 years, and so like, there is this little window here where you want to keep guys together. Mike Nunez, I'm sure he's like, Grant wants $20 million a year. Absolutely, no question. There are not that many teams with cap space, and the fact that Grant's a restricted free agent means that if you offer him your whatever the offer is, because he's a restricted free agent, that money is just like, the Celtics have 20. It is shorter now. It used to be 3 days. Now it's only 24 hours the Celtics have to match. But you guys know, when free agency starts, it's like all the deals are like done kind of like right before the period starts, and it like hits 3 p.m. on Thursday or whatever time it is. And then all the deals start coming through the timeline from Shams and Woj. So teams don't have time to like send out an offer. And if that's their only and if they lose out on Grant, then half the free agents are gone and their cap space becomes useless. And then they don't have cap space for the following year because all their contracts are changing as the years go on. So you add that plus, I cannot see a team just valuing Grant at $20 million a year. Like, we believe that he could be better. He had a pretty bad year, in and out of the rotation. I don't see him as a guy like Derek White's making $17 million a year. Marcus Smart, 18. Malcolm Brogdon, 20, 22. Like, these are the numbers of players that are kind of out of the class of Grant. Obviously, guys that are coming up for free agency now are going to earn more than guys that signed contracts 2 or 3 years ago. But you have to retain the asset. If it's in that 14, I don't know what your walkaway number is. It's probably like 17, 18. But like, you re-sign Grant and then you just trade him if it's an issue. Like once you're trying to shed salary, but mid-range contracts are always going to be an asset. Like anything in that like 15 to 22 range. So you have to re-sign him. Otherwise, you're just letting a trade potentially, like Mike Nunez, you want to make moves, like having a guy on 17, 16, 15, 14. We could get lucky and get Grant on 12 million. That is a real possibility. Like, Brad's proven, like with guys like Rob, to kind of play this free agency stuff really well and get guys on really good contracts. Would not shock me if we get Grant back on like a 3 for 36 or something like that, just because Brad's played the market well. And then you've got a really valuable trade asset all of a sudden. So I think you have to bring Grant back. And then zooming out, I'm just getting closer and closer to like running it back with a Brogdon trade. That's like my idea of the best offseason. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I think you got to shop Brogdon, ideally to a team where you can cut some salary, because next offseason is when shit hits the fan. That'll be the first year of the repeater tax. And if you're above the second apron, I believe that is 7 to 1. Every dollar above it you get taxed $7 on it. So if you're $10 million over that second apron, that's an extra $70 million on your tax bill, which is just not possible. It's just not going to happen. So if you can cut, $10 million off of Brogdon's salary and get a guy who can actually play and give you good, solid rotation minutes, you got to at least think about it. I would hate to talent downgrade, but that's what this CBA was intended to do, to make teams like the Celtics downgrade their salary. And it really, really sucks that as Tatum's going to enter his age 25 season, we're about to get hit with this ridiculous restrictive CBA. But yeah, I think, if it's 15, 16, I would, get some pause with Grant, but ultimately I would probably do it. Once you get into like the 18, 19, 20 range, I think that's just probably a no for me. And then look, there's your salary savings, right? You had Grant projected on the books at 15 a year or whatever. And then, okay, now you just can keep Brogdon or move Brogdon for somebody making exactly the same amount of money as him. And you don't have to worry about the salary issues as much. So we have time. We don't have to freak out about the new CBA just yet. So, we can always move guys at the deadline if we have to, and Grant will be trade eligible by then. So I expect we'll sign Grant Williams. The one team I'm worried about is Detroit, because they need shooting bad. And he's young enough to fit with their core. He's the exact type of guy who doesn't need the ball and will guard his position and is switchable, that you want to surround like Cade and Jaden Ivey with. So that's the one team I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah. I think the only thing with them is like they've got beef stew, they've got Wick Cheapasek. Yeah, a little bit of that going on. They've got the Pistons have beef stew, they have Wiseman, they have Bagley, and they have
they got Wiseman too. Jesus.
And Duran.
Yeah.
So that's 4 guys that are like in. I know Grant. Maybe the Detroit talks themselves into Grant being like a wing, which he can be. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I know Detroit's in a weird spot. They got absolutely screwed by the lottery in this one. I know they got Cade the year before, but having the worst record in the league and then getting the 5th pick.
4? Oh, 5th.
5th. Yeah, that's in a 3-player draft.
Yeah.
Like, that hurts. Reminiscent of the KD Odin draft for the Celtics. Look, a team like them could easily come in, but so yeah, you just never know with free agency. Like, the one that will, once this happened, I just was like, well, you never know. Was the Gordon Hayward free agency? Like, when I was like, surely we just like keep Hayward in like the 20 million a year range, right? Like, and then Charlotte comes in and offers him a 4-year, $120 million contract. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I didn't see that coming, and you cannot sign Hayward to that deal. So see you later. And then we got 2 years of trade exception talk. So if maybe Grant does go, you try and do it in a sign and trade like that. That's the hope. But I think if you're a certain team now, you can't even use your trade exceptions with the new CBA either. So
yeah, no, you can't. It's ridiculous. It's silly, dude. So
Yeah.
I was noodling around. Z Gamer and I were talking on Twitter actually about sign and trade Grant for Stu Beef. You can cut some salary, and because I think Stu Beef is like exactly the type of third center we need. Like, he's not going to get mad if he plays 10 minutes a night, and then he's good enough that he can start for you. He shot it a lot last year.
Yeah, he did shoot it.
He shot it a lot. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't exactly know. But real quick before we move on, I want to shout out Mohammed Thiem. He posted a comment on one of our YouTube videos. He said he's from Senegal, listening to our dumbasses, Jake, talk about the Celtics. So shout out, man. Thank you for listening. He was talking about maybe like a JB Brandon Ingram trade. I don't know how realistic I see that as, but you know, I like Ingram a lot as a player. So we've talked about JB trades a lot, so I won't belabor the point, but I wanted to shout him out and say thanks for listening. And if you're listening from a foreign country, or I guess foreign to me, not to you, that would be your home country, that's not Australia or the United States, man, let us know. It blows my mind that people in America listen to me, never mind all over the world. So that's awesome.
Dude, well, I wonder, Mohammed, if the reason you're a Celtics fan, you'll have to reach out to us again. Is it the Taco Fall connection, who is also from Senegal? Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe that's where the love for the Celtics came from. Hard to know, but maybe we talked about big men. I know Taco's been sharpening his tools over in China.
Yeah, I think he tweeted at somebody recently. It might have been KOC, where he was like, "Yo, leave me out of this, dude. I'm just trying to play basketball," which was an amazing tweet.
Great call, great guy, Taco. All righty, we're moving on. I'm sure we'll dive into more. We're definitely going to be diving into more off-season stuff throughout the off-season. But Spoonie has begun one of my favorite things to do in the off-season, which is the development of guys on the roster and like what skills we want them to work on in the off-season. How can they improve? Starting with our favorite group, the Bus One Boys. I still got to get myself one of those Bus One Boys t-shirts because they are freaking sick. All right. You can start however you want, but I don't know. Maybe House is the right place to start because he's probably the most likely guy to actually get minutes on this team next year.
So I think with Hauser, and this, go check it out on Celtics blog. It's performance improvement plans, the Bus One Boys. And I tried to write it like an actual HR department would write it. A little like cheekier than that, but I try to do something a little different and not the same old kind of like, you should get better at this because why? So I'm doing them for everybody who is definitely under contract next year and Grant, just because I think he's going to be here. And then if guys, if Moose or Blake gets signed for next year, I'll add them to it. But I'm working on the guards now, which we will get to. But yeah, Hauser, I said he should just watch a lot of Duncan Robinson tape. And it would be great if Hauser could speed his release up, but I think maybe one of Duncan's best attributes is the way he uses his jump shot to get himself better jump shots, right? So like he'll come flying off a screen, he'll catch, set his feet really fast, and then he'll pump fake and people just fly by him. Ben says the new CBA constraints are going to make them the Uber pool boys. Yeah. Literal city bus boys. Yeah. So yeah, that's for Hauser. I was like, look, I don't anticipate, like, what am I going to say? Hauser needs to become better with the handle and get in the lane and make plays. Like, it's not going to happen. He's already got the tool to like steal this from Duncan Robinson's game, and it'll make him less one-dimensional, harder to close out fast on, which can help because he's kind of got a slower release.
Does he have a slow release?
Slower. I don't think it's slow. I would say probably like an average speed release, right? Like he's not lightning quick or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I thought it was kind of quick, but maybe it's just the willingness to fire.
Maybe
Like
that's it. Yeah.
he's just like, and he doesn't need the space. So it's not necessarily the speed, but he doesn't seem that he's bothered by contests really. That's a guy that I just like, if we lose, like part of me is like, if we lose Grant, I'd be a little happy in the sense that I want to see Hauser play like 20 minutes a game every night.
Yeah.
Like I do want to see what is there with Hauser, because I think he should have been playing in the playoffs. Like if Duncan Robinson and Max Strus can be playing all the way through the finals, like there is a space for Hauser on a team that was struggling for offense. Now, I love it. Watch the Duncan Robinson tape, but they go hand in hand. I think that this development, and maybe this comes with your Rob or your Horford thing, but can we get a really good handoff game going? I feel like Hauser's the best candidate for it. I feel like it's in there for Jalen as well. Maybe,
Yes.
like, right? Just like pulling up, coming off screens, and then like the lane kind of opens up for Jalen to get into mid-range pull-ups or just straight to the rim. I would love to have that element of our offense because it feels like it flows into other stuff well. Like Bam's doing these. We've got Al who sets great screens, and maybe he's not rolling to the rim like Duncan Robinson was getting lobs to Bam, but Al can pop. Rob, obviously a great lob threat. You get the ball back to Rob in great spots because Hauser's taking a little bit of gravity. Rob can make some really nice passes from that as well. I just think that any extra diversity that we can add to our offense, just like you go to the dribble handoff game, that leads to Hauser, just like a little bit of extra space, kicks it to Derek White, who gets a little bit more space to drive a closeout, to get the ball moving and get the ball popping, get to that driving kick game that we like. I think Hauser should be like a way that stresses defenses. Like he, again, for the 5th year in a row of his life, basically since they've really started tracking his 3-point attempts going back to his first year in college. He's 5 years or 6 years in a row now of being a 40% plus 3-point shooter on like really high volume. Like this guy is a flat out sniper, and to not be utilizing him, I think is a waste. And I love his off ball cutting. He's a really smart player. And I know you mentioned the rebounding being a bit of an issue for him in that article as well.
It got better.
Yeah,
it got better. It was terrible to start the year, but he definitely was fighting a lot better in the second half.
And I feel like offensive rebounding, he was in the right place. He's just a smart player, right? I just don't see why there's any reason why he can't be playing 15, 20 minutes a night in the regular season to help, lighten some of the load of the Jays. All right. House money, I have no doubt, maybe one of the best contracts in the league. He's not going anywhere. That's for sure. All right, well, you take it away. Who do you want to go with next?
Yeah, update on my dog. He has heartburn, so we're good. Nothing wrong.
welcome to the club, Spoonies.
I know, right? Yeah, let's go to Pritchard. So, Pritchard, I think it's kind of difficult to find where he can improve because he's sort of, I think, stretched his skill level to its natural limits. Like at this point, it just feels like he's just limited by his size and athleticism. And, on like defensively, I really have no complaints about Pritchard defensively. I think he gets in there. I think he stays in front of guys really well. He sticks his nose in for rebounds when he can. So I was thinking like, what is the next step in his development? And I think he can use the threat of his deep pull-up jumper, which he shot like a ridiculous percentage on deep threes this year, to set up the pick and roll better, get guys stretched out further out of like, not the paint, but like further out up the floor against him. So he has more time and space to create space. It kind of slows the game down for him a little bit. And if he can get better at like reading the coverage on the pick and roll or beating switches, which I think that'll help with. If guys are afraid of him pulling up from deep behind the pick, they'll have to get out more, and then he can kind of beat them as they're coming out to him. So that was the big thing for me, is like try and use your shot to improve as a pick and roll ball handler, because like he looks good from mid-range, like his little floater game. And if the pass is there, he'll make it. He's not going to do anything crazy. He's not going to pass guys open, but he'll make the right decision. So I think he could really become a microwave scorer off the bench if he can just get better at running pick and roll.
I also feel like it's hard to evaluate because of the playing time this year.
Yeah.
And it's just been tough for him. And I think that's why you also feel good about trading away Brogdon for a potential better fit. Which I'm not sure if Pritchard's happy about that. Like, and I know got people in the chat here. PP wants out. PP's gone. Pritchard will be better for the Hawks. Like, it's no secret that Pritchard wants out.
Yeah.
That's in the current context of this team. If they trade Brogdon for a big wing 4/5 guy, does that open up minutes? I just think from a roster building construction, you've got Pritchard, you've got JD Davidson, you've got Yam Madar out there, who was selected to the Euro All-Star Rising Stars team, first ever something or other. There was a headline. He was the first of some kind.
I think he was the rising star in the Euro League or something like that. So good for Yam, man.
Yeah. So there's guys in the wings where I feel like you feel comfortable keeping those guys. I don't know how tenable it is for Pritchard, like what the relationship with the agent is. Like if you do keep Pritchard after a Brogdon trade, you have to commit to what, like 12 minutes a night of Pritchard, which can you even do that still? It's a hard place to be, but is it just like the reality of the NBA? It's just like, dude, we're trying to win a title and you're like good enough where we like you as our like emergency point guard. Don't know. It's just
he's in a tough spot, dude. Like he's just got guys. We've just traded for 2 guys that play his position that are clearly better than him. And that's a really tough. I understand why he's mad, but yeah, if Brogdon goes out the door, you just hope, like, look, he's under contract for another year. So no matter how much he wants out, like if you sit him down and say, there's an opportunity here for you now, like go out there and grasp it. And then we'll talk. If you want to leave, you're a free agent, we'll talk contract in the offseason. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I don't know. I don't see PP as a starter in the league either, but as an 8th guy, 9th guy that's getting like legit just 12 to 15 minutes a night, is he the poor man's version of Tyus Jones? Not the same type of player, but just I know Tyus Jones is pretty integral to what the Grizzlies do, but I don't know. I feel like there's something there. Like his rookie year, that Celtics team was not like they were the 7th seed, but he was like their 6th best player. Like I feel pretty good about him being like a solid role player in the league. I struggle with this current situation. We would trade Madar and Beggarine for cash. I disagree. I don't see how that helps us at all.
They're free. We're not paying them, so we might as well see how good they get, right? It can't hurt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if those 2 guys come over for well, you talk about we're going back to Pritchard, but like you talk about the pick and roll stuff, right? JD Davison,
he's got feel, dude.
Is he the 2nd best pick and roll operator on the Celtics currently?
Behind Tatum or behind Tatum and Smart are 1, 2, and then I think it's up in the air.
yeah. I tweeted this the other day. I think who was it on a fan? It was Guillaume, I think maybe got on to me.
Oh, Tice?
Smart. Yeah, Tice.
Reddit mod.
Yeah, Reddit mod, my guy.
Yeah.
He was like, Smart's the best. And I was like, I think Tatum maybe, like, Smart's maybe the better ball handler, but because Smart lacks like the scoring threat, Tatum's just kind of more efficient in the pick and roll. But other than that, we're just terrible at the pick and roll.
Yeah.
We're not terrible at it. We're so bad at it. And every time JD Davidson comes in, Luke Cornett's got 3 loves for dunks. Obviously, it's garbage time. But, like, part of me wants to see our backup out that guard position just have, like, super solid. He gets good looks. He can throw those floaters up there.
Ish Smith, man. That's all you got to
be.
Dude. It's like run pick and roll for 12 minutes a night, play a little defense, get some steals. But,
Brogdon and Pritchard for OG Anunoby. Maybe that's the trade. I saw Z Gamer throw that out there.
Wouldn't hate that at all. Okay, so
Anyway,
well,
yeah.
I did Gallo in this piece, but like it
Yeah.
was basically like, hey, get healthy. You used to be good. Hopefully you still are. But the other guy that I really broke down was Luke. And I think Luke was in the 98th percentile as a pick and roll finisher this year. Obviously, a good amount of that was in garbage time, but a good amount of it wasn't. Like he had a pretty big role in the first half of the season. Luke did a really good job just rolling hard to the rim, cleaning up the trash on the offensive glass, where he was borderline unplayable. And you commented often when we were on our live streams about Rob's defensive rebounding and how night and day it was between him and Luke. Luke was literally the worst center on the team defensive rebounding. Like, and it wasn't particularly close. He was worse than Al, who is 36 years old, right? So, Luke, you got like if you're huge and you're a backup center fighting for a job in the NBA, you got to clean the glass. Like that is that. I don't know if he just doesn't read the game that well, or because it's not like he's diving out for like blocks all the time. But
you know what he is doing? The freaking
contest.
Yeah, dude. Enough
That's
with the corner. I honestly think that's part of it because once it's because he's completely out of position to get for rebounding once he does that. I honestly think that is part. I think he's bad at it, but I think that would help.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. You're right. He's jumping up 20 feet from the rim. Like, what are you doing, dude? Get a rebound.
Yeah, if you're not in position to just put your hand up and get it, it's unbelievable. So maybe that's just an easy fix. Stop being dumb. Stop being cute. And just like, it was funny. It was funny when the Celtics were winning. Like, when the Celtics were 21-5, it was funny. It was way less funny when we were like losing to the Wizards.
Yeah,
going for the 1 seed.
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that was all. Those 4 guys were who I hit up in the first piece. I'm in the middle of writing the second one. I have I've got
Who's
Malcolm
next?
Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon was the first guy up on that one, but for him, purely mindset change. Pass more. You just gotta pass more, dude. Please.
He's too. Can you teach an old dog new tricks?
I know, but he's at the lowest assist percentage since Milwaukee. His lowest assists per 100 possessions since Milwaukee. So like he's not ever been like a great playmaker, but he's even worse than he was at Indy. And it's not like he doesn't have the ball. He's always got the ball.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it was maybe role related. You know, you're the 6th man. You're the, former 50, 40, 90. You were the guy in Indy. Now you're coming off the bench. We want you to go out there and be aggressive. We want you to go out there and be aggressive. We also want you to go out there and make the right play. Because I don't know if I can do another season of him just like not finding Rob on the
some of these clips, dude. Some of these clips I got like Hauser's wide open, and he's basically like looking at him, and he just takes a contested layup that he misses. It's like, oh, it's so painful. But the next guy, Jake, Derek White. How do you improve upon perfection?
Exactly, literally. I don't know. Just play more minutes. Play more minutes. Yeah, convince the coaches to let you play more.
No, I have one. I do have one. It's also mindset, but the complete opposite of Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
Be more selfish. Be more confident in your ability to score the ball. Because when Smart was out and he was running point as the starter, he was like 25-5. Like he was, or 25-5. He was awesome. Like I think that's the only problem with Derek White is he doesn't realize how good he is.
Yeah, dude. And you have to instill that belief in him because when we got to the playoffs, we needed one more guy to be aggressive. And Derek figured it out just a couple games too late. Games too late. Like there was like game 7. Remember? Is Derek White about to bring us back? Is this about to be the Derek White moment? Are we going to build a statue off the back of this game 6 tip in and then Derek White bringing us back? Like they kept trying to run through Jalen. It should have been running through Derek.
Yep.
From as soon as Tatum went down with that injury, like that is another side note, like making Jalen just not the initiator. Like it's Tatum and then probably Derek and Marcus. Then maybe you get to Jalen as your initiator, but could not agree more. Like Derek White, for some reason, wouldn't attack Max Strus in games 1, 2, and 3. wouldn't attack Gabe Vincent in games 1, 2, and 3. Like, those are the guys that there's so much attention being shedded towards Jalen and Jason. You have the ability. We've seen it. Like, you can dominate these guys. Like, you can dominate DeJounte Murray. You can dominate Gabe Vincent. And he did it late. It was just a little bit too late. So I couldn't agree more. I think making Derek White like the third guy is probably the move, right?
I think he's ready for it, man.
Yeah.
I really do. Like his jumper, I was
Yeah.
watching tape of him today. Like it is pure now. Like he's so balanced. His like everything about it, it's just mechanically so nice now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, like, we're talking about like Brogdon trades. I would even think about Smart trades. I would not trade Derek White.
No.
He's on a ridiculous contract for how good he is.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Brad seems to just tell the truth. So like when he says we love our core, it's technically an ambiguous term because that could mean Jalen, Jason. That can mean just Jason. That can mean Jalen, Jason, Marcus, Al, Derek, Malcolm, for all I know. But the fact that you've got Derek definitely makes Marcus and Brogdon expendable in the sense of like if you can find better fits or talent upgrades, then you probably have to be okay with moving either or both of them. Because Derek was that good this year, especially when you saw him take the reins from Marcus when he got injured. That was his best stretch. So, damn. Did we just talk ourselves into a Smart trade? That makes me sad.
I don't know. All I said is I'd consider it. Not that I think Brogdon is very likely to be moved though. But anyway, I haven't written about Smart or Jalen yet, so I got nothing for you on those. I don't know what you got any suggestions on Smart? Jalen, I think, is pretty easy. Left-handed dribbling.
Yeah, lock him in Peyton Pritchard's dribbling garage. Jeez, like that.
Right. Get those hands bloody.
That's the move. Maybe off-ball, like clay type stuff.
Ooh, actually, that's way better because I just don't think the handle stuff's ever going to come if it hasn't yet.
Yeah, and I think Jalen, like, because there's an ego part to this, right? Like, we don't want you handling the ball, but we still want you taking 20 shots a game. Yeah. We just want you taking like shots that fit you better. So, Clayland, man, turn him into Clayland for us.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's great, Jake. I'll shout you out.
Awesome. For Marcus, off the top of my head, I don't know, bring back the defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, how much of that was because he's not that old.
But he's played.
I know.
I'm afraid he's going to fall off a cliff because of just how hard he's played his entire career and how many injuries he's had.
Well, that was why it didn't make a lot of sense why he was like consistently leading the team in minutes of the three guards. It's like, why? Like, we know Marcus is going to hurt himself and play through stuff and wear himself down. He's wearing the freaking Iron Man chest plate after like game 3 of the freaking playoffs or whatever it is. And so you got to protect him from yourself. And Derek White, not that he doesn't put his body on the line, but I don't know, maybe it's kind of different.
Nobody does it like Smart, dude.
Yeah.
Like, because Smart will like, dude, it's game like 43. We're playing Orlando. Like, chill out, bro. Like,
up 12 with like 4 minutes to go.
Yeah. Like, it's not worth it. And he'll dive into the stands. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Regain that DPOI pride.
Yeah,
that would maybe be the move for Smart, but I trust you. You'll come up with something.
Yeah, let's hope so.
In that
if not, I'll just fudge it and people will yell at me.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we've done 57 minutes on a bunch of Celtics nonsense. We appreciate everybody in the chat. If while you're still here, please hit like on the stream right now. Help us fight the overlords of the algorithm as we strive towards Banner 18. Been a pleasure as always hanging with you, Spoonie. We'll be back at some point with more Celtics stuff throughout the offseason. I'm trying to dive into the pick 35 stuff. I'm not a draft guy, but we're definitely we're like less than 10 days from the draft, I think. So 22nd of June, I believe. So we're right there. In the meantime, go Celtics.